Evan was a quiet human engineer who lived alone on a small repair station at the edge of the galaxy. His days were slow, almost empty, filled with the sound of old machines and metal tools. He never expected anything big to happen in his life. But one cold night, everything changed. The sky above his station flashed bright blue, then shook as something huge crashed into the ground nearby. Dust filled the air, and the ground trembled under his feet. Evan grabbed a light and ran outside, thinking maybe a cargo pod had fallen. But when he reached the crash site, he froze. It was not a human pod. The escape pod was silver and curved like a teardrop, glowing softly with strange markings. It hissed as steam escaped from cracks. Evan felt nervous, but stepped closer. When the door opened, a small figure fell out and hit the ground with a soft cry. Evan rushed forward and saw her, an alien girl, no older than him but with eyes glowing like violet fire. Her armor was broken, pieces cracked and sparking. She looked scared, weak, and confused. She tried to crawl away from him, lifting her hand as if to protect herself. Evan raised both hands gently, showing he meant no harm. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." She stared at him, breathing fast, her eyes full of fear. Her armor flickered again, and she whispered something in a language he didn't understand. Then she switched to broken English. "Hunters. Still coming. Please help." Evan helped her stand and guided her into his workshop. She was light, almost weightless, as if gravity did not fully affect her. Her armor was beautiful, even in its broken state, silver plates, glowing lines, and strange symbols shining faintly. She sat on a chair, shivering, watching him carefully. Evan slowly reached for her armor. "I can fix this." "Maybe." The moment his hand touched the cracked plate, the symbols glowed bright blue. The princess gasped. Her eyes widened as she stared at him like she had seen a miracle. Evan quickly pulled his hand back, thinking he did something wrong. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean." She suddenly fell to her knees in front of him. Evan panicked and stepped back. No, please don't get up." But she lowered her head, touching her forehead to the floor. Her voice shook as she whispered, "You repaired my royal armor. You have chosen me." Evan had no idea what she was talking about. "Chosen? No, I only helped. That's all." She lifted her head, her violet eyes filled with emotion. "Human, you saved my life. You touched my bond armor. In my people's law. That means you are now my chosen husband." Evan's mind went blank. "What?" The princess nodded seriously. She placed her hand over her heart. "I am Princess Illyria of the Lumerian Empire, and now, you are my bonded partner." Evan felt like the room was spinning. He repaired things all the time: ships, parts, engines. He never expected repairing armor would make someone call him a husband. Evan took a deep breath. There has to be a mistake. Humans don't have this rule. Illyria shook her head. "No mistake. Your touch awakened my armor. It accepted you." Before Evan could argue, loud beeps echoed from outside. Alarms flashed on his screen. Unknown ships were entering the atmosphere. Illyria's face turned pale. "They found me." Evan looked at her, then at the radar. Multiple red dots were closing in fast. "Who are they?" he asked. "Hunters," she whispered. "They want to capture me. If they take me, I will not survive." Evan swallowed hard. He felt fear rising in his chest, but he also felt something else: responsibility. She trusted him. She believed he saved her life. He took a step toward the door. "Stay here. I'll think of something." Illyria grabbed his hand, her voice trembling. "Please, don't leave me alone." Outside, shadows moved under the broken sky. And the hunt for the princess had already begun. Evan stood frozen as Illyria held his hand tightly, her fingers cold but trembling with fear. He could hear the distant hum of engines getting closer. The hunters were not far. He turned back to her, trying to calm her with his voice. "I won't leave," he said quietly, "but you have to explain what is happening. Why did my touch change your armor?" Illyria sat down slowly, her breathing uneven. The soft blue lights on her armor pulsed like a heartbeat. She looked at Evan with eyes full of confusion and something like hope. "On my world," she began, "royal armor is alive. It chooses. Who is worthy to repair it? Only a true bond can wake it." Evan blinked. "Bond, you mean? Marriage?" She nodded gently. "In our culture, yes. Only a life partner can restore the armor of a princess. It is the law of thousands of years." Evan rubbed his forehead. "But I didn't know that. I was just trying to help." Illyria stared at him as if he had said something impossible. "You helped even without knowing who I am. Without reward. Without fear." She touched her armor softly. "You repaired the heart plate. That means you accepted me." Evan stepped back, almost tripping over a toolbox. No, I didn't accept anything. I didn't agree to be anyone's husband." Her eyes widened with hurt, but she stayed calm. "Human Evan. The armor chose. I did not force this." He opened his mouth to argue again, but the radar beeped loudly. Red lights flashed across the screen. 3 hunter ships were landing near his station. Illyria looked toward the door with fear. "They are close. They will destroy your station if they know I am here. They don't care about humans. They just want me gone." Evan grabbed a wrench and checked the emergency lockdown system. He was sweating now. "Why are they chasing you?" Illyria hesitated. "Because I refused a political binding. A forced union. They wanted me to join with someone powerful. Someone cruel." Her voice cracked. "I ran away to save myself. And now they want to punish me for escaping." Evan felt a strange anger rise in his chest. Forced marriage, hunters, threatening her life. It felt unfair, wrong, cruel. He looked at her more closely now, not like a stranger, but like someone who truly needed help. She lowered her head. "I thought I could hide in deep space. But my escape pod was damaged. When I saw your world, I prayed someone kind lived here." She looked at him shyly. "I did not expect to meet the one who would awaken my armor bond." Evan sat beside her. "Illyria, I don't know anything about your culture. But I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to reject you. I just don't understand this." Illyria nodded softly. "Then I will explain. In my people's law, when someone repairs the armor of a royal, they promise protection. They promise loyalty. They promise to stand by them." She paused. "You did that when you touched my armor." Evan sighed. "I didn't promise, but I won't let the hunters take you." Illyria's eyes softened. "Thank you." A loud crash shook the workshop walls. Dust fell from the ceiling. Evan jumped up. "They're inside the perimeter." The sound of heavy footsteps echoed outside. Shadows passed by the windows. Illyria looked terrified, but held her chin high. "They will demand you hand me over. They will threaten you." Evan grabbed a small blaster he kept for emergencies. His hands shook, but he stood firm. "Let them try." Illyria moved beside him, gently touching his arm. "Evan, I know you don't accept the bond yet. But I accept you. In my world, that means I stand with you now." Her armor glowed brighter, as if agreeing with her words. The footsteps stopped right outside the door. A deep metallic voice called out, "Human! Step outside. Hand over the princess now, or your station will burn." Illyria held Evan's hand tightly again. "Please. Stay with me." Evan took a breath, steady and slow. He looked at the door, then at her. "You're not alone anymore," he whispered. "They'll have to go through me first." Outside, The hunters prepared to break in. Inside, Evan and Illyria stood together for the first time, not as strangers, but as two lives suddenly tied by fate. The door shook under a heavy impact, making every tool in the workshop rattle. Evan and Illyria both turned toward the noise. Dust fell from the ceiling as the hunters struck the door again, harder this time. Evan could hear their strange voices on the other side, deep, metallic, cold. Illyria gripped his arm tightly. "They will not ask again," she whispered. "Hunters speak only once before they attack." Evan swallowed hard. He was just an engineer, not a soldier. He had fixed broken machines, not fought armored killers from another world. But when he looked at Illyria's trembling hands, he knew he couldn't run. The pounding continued. The metal door bent inward. Evan took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Stay behind me," he said softly. Illyria shook her head. "No, I stand with you." Bonded partners face danger together. Before Evan could argue, the door blew off its hinges and crashed into the wall. Smoke and sparks filled the room. 3 tall hunters stepped inside, their armor black as night, glowing with red lines. They aimed their weapons straight at Evan. One of them spoke, voice deep and mechanical. "Human, move aside. You are not part of this." Illyria stepped in front of Evan immediately. "No, he is my chosen partner." The hunters paused. Their red eyes flickered with confusion. "Impossible. A human cannot bond with a Lumerian princess. He has no status. No bloodline," Evan whispered. "What are they talking about? Status? Bloodline?" Illyria didn't take her eyes off the hunters. "They do not see humans as equal, Evan." The lead hunter growled. "Princess Illyria, you will come with us. Your escape puts the Empire at risk." Illyria's voice was steady, but her hands shook. "I will not return to a forced binding. One choose my own path now." She pointed to Evan, "and he is part of that path." The hunters raised their weapons again. "Then the human dies first." Evan froze. His heart pounded in his ears. He wasn't ready for this. He wasn't built for battles. But then his gaze landed on Illyria standing in front of him, her body shaking, yet refusing to move. He couldn't let her face this alone. Evan stepped beside her. "If you want her," he said, voice trembling but firm, "you'll have to go through me." A heavy silence filled the room. The hunters stared at him, shocked that a human dared challenge them. "How brave," the lead hunter said mockingly. "But useless." He fired. Illyria reacted instantly. She raised her broken armor arm in front of Evan. A weak blue shield flickered to life, absorbing the blast but cracking in the process. Illyria cried out in pain as the energy rippled through her body. She fell to one knee. "Illyria." Evan caught her, lowering her gently to the floor. The hunters stepped forward confidently. "Your armor is broken. You cannot protect him. Surrender." Evan's anger burst through his fear. "You're hurting her. Stop." He grabbed a tool from his workbench, an energy arc cutter. It wasn't a weapon, but he held it tightly, ready to fight. The hunters laughed. "A human with a tool thinks he can defeat us?" But Evan wasn't planning to defeat them. He was planning to outsmart them. He scanned the room quickly. His workshop was filled with half-built machines, power coils, magnetic plates, and loose parts. He knew every switch, every hidden fuse, every weak point. He grabbed Illyria's hand. "Trust me," he whispered. Illyria nodded weakly. "Always." Evan flipped a switch on his wall. The floor under the hunters glowed bright white. Before they could react, an electromagnetic pulse surged upward, pulling their armor to the ground. The hunters slammed into the metal floor with a loud crash. "What?" "Impossible. Our system's jammed." Evan pulled Illyria behind a large engine block as the hunters struggled to stand. Their armor was too heavy without their power systems. Illyria looked at him with wide eyes. "Evan, you did this?" He nodded. "Just a trick I built for fun. Never thought I'd actually use it." Illyria smiled weakly, admiration in her gaze. "You think like a warrior, even if you are not one." Evan peeked out from behind the engine. The hunters were slowly forcing themselves up. "The pulse would not hold long. We need to run," he whispered. "Now." Illyria nodded and stood, leaning on him for support. Before leaving, she turned back to the hunters. Her voice was no longer afraid. "My bonded partner is under my protection. Touch him again, and I will end this war myself." The hunters glared at her, but they could not move fast enough without holding each other. Evan and Illyria slipped through the back exit of the workshop and into the dark night, the hunters roaring behind them as the chase continued. Evan guided Illyria through the dark passage behind his workshop, helping her keep balance as her weakened armor flickered. The night outside was cold, silent, and filled with the distant glow of the hunters' ship lights. Illyria held her injured arm close to her chest, trying not to show the pain, but Evan could see it in her trembling steps. "Are you okay?" he whispered. She gave a small nod. "My armor protected you." "That is enough." Evan shook his head. "Protecting me is not your job. We protect each other now." Illyria looked at him with soft surprise, as if no one had ever said that to her before. Behind them, metal groaned and sparks flew. The hunters were freeing themselves from the electromagnetic trap. They didn't speak, but the angry hum of their armor told Evan they were coming fast. "We don't have much time," he said. "Follow me." He led Illyria around the side of the station toward an old service tunnel connected to the power grid. He had used it for repairs and storage, never expecting he'd one day run through it with a princess while being hunted by elite alien warriors. The tunnel door opened with a metallic hiss. Evan pulled Illyria inside, just as the hunter's red lights swept across the ground outside. He closed the door quietly and activated a manual lock. Illyria leaned against the wall, breathing hard. Why would hunters come so far? This world is not important. Evan grabbed the small toolkit and checked the tunnel's emergency controls. "Maybe because you are." Illyria looked down, unsure how to reply. He adjusted a power valve, then examined the glowing lines on her armor. "If I can fix one more part, your shield might activate again." Illyria blinked. "Even touching my armor again will deepen the bond." Evan hesitated only for a moment. "Then we do what we must to survive." Her eyes softened, sparkling faintly. She extended her arm toward him. Evan worked quickly, using small tools to repair the cracked plates. As he connected the final piece, Illyria gasped. Blue light surged across her armor, stronger than before. She stood taller, steadier. "You did it," she whispered. Evan smiled. "Good. Now let's—" A loud explosion shook the tunnel. Dust rained down. The hunters had found them. A sharp metallic voice echoed through the walls. "Princess Illyria. Human engineer, surrender. You cannot escape." Illyria's armor glowed brighter. "They underestimate us." Evan pulled her deeper into the tunnel. "They underestimate you. I'm just here trying not to die." Illyria gave a faint smile. "But you stand with me. That makes you stronger than they think." The hunter's footsteps grew louder, fast and heavy. Evan activated a hidden panel on the wall. The tunnel lit up with faint blue strips. "What is this?" Illyria whispered. "A failed transport tube," Evan explained. "I never got it to work for moving cargo. But it's perfect for throwing someone with armor." Illyria raised a brow. "Throw?" Evan pressed a button. The tube hummed, glowing bright. "It's our only chance. It will launch you to the field outside the station. I'll follow on foot." Illyria's eyes widened. "No, we go together." "It won't launch two people," Evan said. "It barely launches one." She stepped forward, placing her hand gently on his arm. You risk your life again. Why? Because you're in danger, he said simply. Illyria's expression softened deeply. Then I trust you. Before Evan could react, the tunnel door behind them blew apart. Hunters stepped through the smoke, weapons glowing blood red. Illyria grabbed Evan and pulled him behind her, activating her newly repaired shield. A bright blue wall of energy spread in front of them as the hunters fired. The shield held. For now. Evan moved to the transport tube controls. Illyria, get in. She shook her head. I will not leave you. You won't. Evan shouted. I'll run after you. It's the only way we both live. The shield cracked. One more hit and it would break. Illyria looked into Evan's eyes, fear, trust, and something deeper inside her. She stepped into the transport tube. Human Evan. She whispered softly. My chosen partner. Do not die. Evan slammed the launch button. A blinding flash shot Illyria through the tube like a streak of blue light. The hunters roared and charged forward. The shield shattered. Evan ducked behind machinery as energy blasts split the air. Sparks flew everywhere. He grabbed a metal bar and smashed a weak support beam. The tunnel ceiling groaned. Come on, fall. He shouted. With a huge crack, the ceiling collapsed, blocking the hunters under a pile of metal and dust. Silence. Evan coughed and climbed out of the debris. Bruised but alive. Outside, Illyria landed in the field, scanning desperately for him. Evan. She shouted. When he crawled out of the tunnel ruins, Illyria ran toward him, armor glowing bright with relief. You survived, she breathed. Yeah, he said, smiling tiredly. Told you I'd follow. But above them, more hunter ships descended through the clouds. The chase had only begun. A low rumble rolled across the sky like distant thunder. Evan and Illyria both looked upward. Through the dark clouds, giant shadows appeared, long shapes, glowing engines, and bright blue lights cutting through the night. At first Evan thought they were more hunters, but Illyria's eyes widened with a different emotion. Not fear this time, but shock. That is, the royal fleet, she whispered. The ships were massive, elegant, shaped like silver wings stretching across the sky. Their lights formed ancient patterns only Lemurians understood. When the largest ship descended, the wind blew so hard that grass flattened around them. Evan covered his face from the dust while Illyria stood tall, her armor glowing in response. To the royal symbols above, Evan stared. They found us? I thought the hunters were the only ones chasing you. Illyria shook her head slowly. If the royal fleet is here, then my disappearance became a political crisis. The biggest ship landed with a soft vibration. A ramp lowered and rows of royal guards marched out, their armor shining like polished silver. They surrounded Evan and Illyria instantly. Evan raised his hands, afraid they might attack him. A guard scanned Evan with a glowing device. Suddenly, the device flashed gold. The guard dropped to one knee. Royal consort identified. Evan blinked. Royal Bolt UAT? No, this is a mistake. Every guard kneeled. Every single one. Illyria's face softened. She stepped beside him. Your repair awakened the heart plate. It bound us. The armor does not lie. Evan looked around helplessly. But I didn't agree to be anyone's consort. The guards ignored his panic and bowed their heads. Princess Illyria, the Emperor awaits your return. Your partner will join you for the completion of the life bond. Evan dropped his hands. Life bond? Wait, you didn't say anything about life. Before he could continue panicking, a tall figure stepped off the ship. His armor was darker, heavier, and covered in royal crest markings. His voice echoed across the field. I am Commander Varian, he said. By order of the Emperor, both the princess and her chosen partner will come with us. Illyria stepped forward. Her voice was calm but strong. Commander, Evan did not Know our customs, he did not choose the bond. Commander Varian tilted his head. The armor chose him, that is enough. Evan stepped between them, trembling but determined. Look, I fixed her armor because she needed help. That's all. I'm not some royal whatever you think I am. A soft, pained expression crossed Illyria's face. For the first time, Evan realized she might actually care what happened to him, not because of tradition, but because of him. Commander Varian turned to the guards. Prepare them for transport. 2 guards reached for Evan. Illyria immediately stepped in front of him, hand raised. Do not touch him. The guards stopped. No one disobeyed a princess, not even in confusion. Illyria looked at Evan with worried eyes. If we go with them, the Emperor will test the bond. They will expect you to complete it, or end it. Evan frowned. And if I choose to end it? Illyria hesitated. Then the bond breaks. I lose my protection. My enemies will return. And my heartplate may never awaken again. Evan stared at her glowing armor. And if I choose to complete it? Illyria looked away, cheeks warming faintly. Then you become my chosen partner before the whole empire. Evan rubbed his face. So it's either break everything or marry an alien princess. Perfect. Great options. Before Illyria could respond, the sky erupted with red explosions. 2 hunter ships burst from the clouds and fired directly at the royal fleet. Commander Varian shouted, "Shields up! Protect the princess!" Royal guards formed a circle around Illyria. And Evan as blasts shook the field. Illyria grabbed Evan's hand. They came for me again. And now they know you are part of the bond. Evan squeezed her hand tightly. Then we survived together. The royal fleet unleashed bright blue shields, pushing the hunters back. But the hunters dove again, firing wildly. Commander Varian pointed at Evan. Human consort. You must board the ship at once. Evan shook his head. I'm not leaving without Illyria. Illyria turned to him with surprise and warmth in her eyes. You choose to stay? You're not facing this alone, Evan said. We deal with this together, bond or no bond. At that moment, the largest hunter ship broke through the clouds, and all hell opened above them. The next decision Evan made would change the fate of an entire empire. The sky burned red as the largest hunter ship descended, its engines shaking the ground like a living storm. Royal guards activated full shields, creating a glowing blue dome around Illyria and Evan. But the hunters were not afraid. They dived again, releasing sharp beams of red energy that cracked the shields with every hit. Evan shielded his face from the bright flashes. What do they want now? Why are they still chasing you if the royal fleet is here? Illyria's expression darkened, because the truth was never about my escape. It was about replacing me. Evan blinked. Replacing you? With who? Illyria opened her mouth to explain, but a sudden blast shattered half the shield dome. The royal guards staggered. Commander Varian shouted commands, his voice echoing across the field. Reinforce the left wing. Protect the princess and the human consort. Evan ducked as another blast tore up the ground beside them. Illyria pulled him close, her armor glowing. With a protective energy that wrapped gently around him, Evan stared at her armor. You're still hurt. You shouldn't be using energy. Illyria shook her head. Your safety comes before mine. Before Evan could protest, the hunter ship opened like a giant metal flower, revealing a tall armored figure stepping forward. His armor was black and silver, with gold marks of nobility. Illyria froze. Her breath caught in her throat. No, she whispered. It cannot be him. Evan frowned. Who is that? That is Lord Keller, Illyria said quietly. The one they wanted to bind me to. The one who sent hunters after me. Keller lifted his helmet, revealing pale blue skin and cold silver eyes. His voice echoed across the field. Princess Illyria, running was foolish. Choosing a human was an insult. You belong beside me, not hiding with low creatures. Evan stepped forward before he even thought. Low creature? Really? That's your best line? Keller smiled darkly. You are nothing human. You do not understand your place. Illyria moved between them. He understands kindness. He understands honor, things you will never have. Keller's expression twisted. You dare speak for him? For a human? Illyria lifted her chin. I chose him. Keller's eyes glowed with anger. Then he dies. He raised his hand, gathering energy. Evan braced himself, but Commander Varian leapt in front of him, activating a massive shield that absorbed the blast with a loud boom. Keller shouted, Stand aside, Varian. The Emperor may not know the truth, but I do. The bond is false. The human is unworthy. Varian's voice was sharp. The armor chose him. That is law. Keller laughed. Armor can be tricked. A frightened princess can be manipulated. She bonded with him because she ran from her duty. Illyria's hands clenched into fists. You chased me because I refused your binding. You wanted power, not me. Keller didn't deny it. He stepped forward, confident, arrogant. If you refused, then you are unfit to rule. And the Empire needs a ruler who understands strength. Illyria glared. You planned this from the start. You sabotaged my ship. You sent hunters to capture me. Keller smirked. Of course. A throne cannot remain in weak hands. Evan finally understood. So you were behind everything. The hunters, the threats, the chase. Keller turned to him with pure disgust. Human, you should not speak in matters of royalty. Evan stepped closer to Illyria. I don't care what he thinks. You trusted me, and I'm staying with you. Illyria's armor glowed brighter, responding to Evan's courage. Keller noticed it, and his eyes widened. No, it can't be, he muttered. The armor's glow. That's genuine bond energy. Varian nodded. The bond is real. Keller's face twisted with rage. Unacceptable. I will break it myself. He launched forward with a burst of speed. Evan barely had time to react. Illyria grabbed Evan's arm and pulled him back, her shield activating just in time to block Keller's strike. The impact shook the entire field. Royal guards rushed in, surrounding Keller. Varian shouted, By royal decree, Lord Keller, you are under arrest for treason. Keller laughed wildly. You cannot arrest me. The Emperor needs me. The Empire needs me. Illyria stepped forward, her armor glowing like a rising star. The Empire does not need a traitor. It needs truth. Keller attempted one final attack, but Illyria raised her hand and unleashed a powerful shockwave from her armor. The blast threw Keller to the ground, disarming him completely. Royal guards seized him instantly. Evan stared at Illyria, amazed. You defeated him. Illyria turned to him softly. No, Evan, we defeated him. You gave me strength. Varian approached the two and bowed. Princess, human consort. The Emperor requests your presence at once. The fate of the Empire now depends on your decision. Evan looked at Illyria. Illyria looked at him. The biggest choice of their lives was waiting on the royal ship. The royal ship's halls were bright and silent, glowing with soft blue lights that followed ancient designs. Evan walked beside Illyria, feeling small next to the tall silver walls and the rows of guards who bowed as they passed. Every step he took echoed like a reminder. A simple human engineer was now walking toward the Emperor of one of the greatest empires in the galaxy. Illyria glanced at him, her eyes warm. Do not be afraid. Evan almost laughed. Illyria, I'm about to meet your father, the Emperor, and he thinks I'm your partner. I'm definitely allowed to be afraid. Illyria smiled gently. You faced hunters, a traitor, and a collapsing tunnel. You will be fine. They reached a massive door that opened on its own. Inside was a grand chamber filled with floating stars and shifting holograms of galaxies. On a raised platform stood the Emperor, tall, calm, and wearing deep blue robes, glowing with royal markings. His eyes were bright silver like Illyria's, but older, wiser, sharper. Illyria bowed deeply. Evan tried to bow too, but nearly fell forward. The Emperor watched silently. At last, he spoke, voice deep and steady. "Princess Illyria, human Evan, step forward." Evan's heart pounded as they approached. The Emperor looked first at Illyria. "I heard of your escape, and of Lord Keller's betrayal. You survived because of this human, and because your armor awakened in his presence." Illyria raised her head proudly. "Yes, father. Evan saved my life more than once. The armor chose him truthfully." The Emperor turned his gaze to Evan. "Human, do you understand what the armor bond means in our culture?" Evan opened his mouth, closed it, then nodded weakly. "I sort of understand. It means loyalty, protection, partnership, and marriage," Illyria added softly, her cheeks warming. Evan swallowed hard. "Right, marriage." The Emperor studied Evan like he was reading a long book in a single glance. "You did not know the consequences when you repaired her armor, yet you protected her, even when your life was at risk. Why?" Evan hesitated. He looked at Illyria, saw the trust in her eyes. And suddenly, his answer felt simple. "Because she needed help," he said. "Because she didn't deserve to be hunted or forced, and because somewhere along the way, she stopped being a stranger to me." Illyria's eyes softened, sparkling. The Emperor stepped down from the platform. "Human Evan, you stand in a place no other human has ever stood. Today you have two paths." Evan's breath caught. "Path 1, break the bond. If you choose this, my daughter will be free. But vulnerable, hunters and political rivals will return. She will stand alone." Illyria lowered her gaze slightly, her hands tightening. The Emperor continued, voice calm but firm. "Path 2, accept the bond. Become her chosen partner. Our traditions will honor you. The Empire will protect you. And together you will share her future." Evan felt the weight of the whole galaxy resting on his shoulders. Illyria stepped closer. Her voice was soft but filled with emotion. "Evan, whatever you choose, I will respect you. But I must tell you this, your kindness changed me. No one ever cared for me without expecting something in return. You did." She lifted her hand gently toward him. "You gave me hope again." Evan stared at her hand, then at the Emperor waiting silently, then at the glowing armor that only he had awakened. He thought of the hunters, of Keller, of how Illyria looked at him when she was afraid, of how she stood in front of him to protect him, of how she whispered, "Do not die." And Evan made his choice. He took Illyria's hand. Gasps filled the chamber. Illyria's eyes widened with surprise, then filled with warmth. "I'm not a hero," Evan said softly. "I'm not royalty. But I want to stand with you, not because of a bond, not because of armor, but because I choose you." Illyria's armor glowed brighter than ever, pure blue light flooding the room. The Emperor bowed his head with respect. "Then the bond is complete. The human who was once an outsider now stands as partner to the princess." Guards kneeled. Across the hall, Illyria stepped closer, her voice a whisper meant only for him. "Thank you, Evan," he smiled shyly. "Guess I'm part of the royal family now, huh?" Illyria laughed softly. "Yes, and your life will never be quiet again." Outside the royal ship, news spread across star systems. A human had been chosen by a Lumerian princess, and the galaxy would never be the same again.